Hello and welcome back to Don't Press Play, the show where we hit play so you don't have to. Each week we dive into the weird, the forgotten, and the just plain cursed corners of horror cinema and ask the big questions. Does this hold up? What were they thinking? And was that a tent flying into a tree? This week we're trekking deep into the foggy woods of Burkittsville, Maryland to revisit a franchise that changed the game in 1999 and tried to do the same in 2016 with mixed results. We're talking about Blair Witch, not the original, not Book of Shadows, but don't worry, we'll get there, but the 2016 reboot, sequel, legacy horror thing. Now, look, I've got feelings about this one, so strap on your GoPros, fire up that drone, and try not to stare at the corner of the room for too long. Let's roll the trailer.
What is that?
The guy who uploaded this video said it was from a tape he found in the Black Hills woods. I think that might be my sister.
You really think your sister could still be out there after all these years?
If there is any chance I could find out what happened to her, I need to try.
Legend said there's been a curse on these woods.
Do you believe in the stories about the Blair Witch? Oh my God. This looks familiar.
We've been walking in a circle.
No way!
They're everywhere. Who could have done this?
You did this!
Oh my God! This way, come on!
There's something out there.
We found it!
That's not your sister, that can't be her!
Come on! Get in the corner! Don't look! I'm so sorry.
So, before we dive into the sequel, I need to make one thing clear. The original Blair Witch Project is my favourite film of all times. I'm not exaggerating. It's not just my favourite horror film. I think it's my favourite film, period. I genuinely think it's one of the most important movies to ever be made. Not because of the budget or the found footage gimmick, but because of the experience and the mythology that came with it. And yet, it gets so much hate. People say it's boring, they say nothing happens, they'll watch a YouTube kill count and go, that's it? But here's what I always tell people. Blair Witch isn't something that you watch, it's something that you feel. It's a film that shifts depending on how you experience it. Watch it at the cinema and you'll get a physical reaction. It's queasy, disorientating, and it's like being on some kind of haunted roller coaster. If you watch it at 3 a.m. in the dark, however, with your headphones on, phone off, it's sat in the dark, it becomes something else entirely. The distant children crying, the tent shaking, Heather's sobbing breath in your ear. You're there, you're in the tent. And here's where it gets deeper. The film is only part of the puzzle. The filmmakers built an entire mythology around it. Fake police reports, a whole website, a TV documentary that ran on the Sci-Fi Channel, and people believed it. There were books, real physical books, including the Blair Witch dossier, which was a fake interviews, artifacts, and transcripts from, Rustin Parr's trial, Heather's diary. It was one of the first viral horror marketing campaigns, and it was brilliant. It blurred the lines between fiction and reality, and people bought into it. And that's what makes the Blair Witch special. Not the camera shakes, not the sticks, but it's the world building. It was a horror film that didn't show you the monster, but made you believe there was one anyway, somewhere out there in the woods. So, let's fast forward. It's 2016. What a year to be alive. We get a surprise reveal at Comic-Con that this secret movie called The Woods turns out to be a Blair Witch sequel, and people lost their minds. in a good way. The hype, it was real. The trailer looked slick. Cameras everywhere, a new group heading back into the forest after someone finds footage that supposedly shows Heather from the original. The main character is James, Heather's brother, who now thinks she still might be alive. Which is a great setup, right? But as the film rolls on, it starts to feel like they took a pretty solid horror concept and halfway through production said, hey, let's just make this a Blair Witch thing. The bones are in there, but the soul, the mythology, not so much. Okay, let's be fair. There are things I like about this movie, genuinely, and almost all of them happen in the last 30 minutes. It's like once the film drops all the setup and lets the witch off the leash, it actually becomes a worthy spiritual sequel. You've got time loop stuff where day never comes, the people who go missing show up hours later, thinking that it's only been minutes. Like, that's brilliant. You've got Ashley slowly losing her mind from that infected foot. And let's talk about that scene, because when she pulls a little twig creature out of her leg, I wanted to throw up. That's like David Cronenberg level body horror. The stick figures start evolving, becoming more sinister, more detailed, almost sacred objects, and the wood starts to feel alive again. And that's when we get to the rusting poorhouse. Oh my god. It's genuinely the most terrifying part of the movie, not just because it's familiar, but because it's wrong. The layout is different, the rooms loop, people hear voices, see lights, and that's when there's the don't look at her rule, which is such a smart addition. The witch becomes like a walking urban legend, and if you see her or her reflection, you're done. It's simple, it's effective, and it also links into that rusting power mythology. It's a whole film. I just think if the whole film had this kind of energy, we'd be talking about this as one of the best horror sequels ever. But sadly, it completely misses the boat. So, let's talk about the bad. Here's where the movie really loses me. Let's start with the biggest sin. It completely ignores the rich mythology built into the original. You've got Heather's brother James as the lead, which sounds good until you realise he's never been mentioned before. Not in the movie, not in the lore, not in any of the actual canon material. Meanwhile, hardcore fans know that Heather already had a cousin, Ellie, featured in the Blair Witch Files book series, and she's actually trying to find Heather for years before James even ever existed. So why not use that? Why not reference any of the stuff that the fans already loved? Even a quick nod, my cousin Ellie looked into this and disappeared, would have meant everything to the fans. Instead, we've got new characters who feel like they've been pulled from Netflix casting call. James has got no personality, he's just sad and confused. Lisa is a documentary filmmaker apparently, but we never see her actually care about any of the story that she's documenting. We've got Peter and Ashley who are just disposable side characters, and you could replace them with any other random couple and nothing would change. And the scares early on, they're just noise. Literally, jump scare after jump scare, tents flying here, trees crashing there, loud static. It's exhausting. What made the original great was restraint. It knew that silence was scary. The movie doesn't trust you to sit with unease for more than 30 seconds. And found footage logic out the window. You've got drones, night vision, multiple timelines, multiple camera edits. Like, who was editing this footage? The Witch's Final Cut Pro intern? It just doesn't feel authentic. Okay, let's run down some of the wildest, weirdest moments that make me say, what the fuck, in this movie. So, the first thing was Ashley pulling a living root creature out of her ankle. Disgusting, but also kind of cool. The drone crashing and then getting stuck in a tree and then doing absolutely nothing with that for the rest of the film. Brilliant. Peter climbing to get the drone and just vanishing. No payoff, no closure. The sunrise that never comes. Time loop horror here is fantastic. It starts to feel almost like an alien film. Again, I love all that kind of stuff. And the don't look at her twist, which is one of the best mechanics they used in this entire franchise. And then we've got Lisa's tunnel crawl, which was like a claustrophobic nightmare. Genuinely had me like holding my breath the entire film. So good, so good. So, how did this movie land? Not great. Critics were mixed. Rotten Tomatoes gave this a 35%, and fans were really divided. Some loved the sound design and the tension. Most said, cool house, boring movie. It did make money on a $5 million budget. It got $45 million back, but it had no kind of cultural impact than the original did. And the hype burned bright at the Comic-Con reveal, but then it fizzled away so fast. And I think today most fans see this as a missed opportunity with a cool concept, but it was kind of weighed down with. I don't want to say studio interference, it was probably lack thereof, because had they done test screenings and things like that, and I know they didn't want to do test screenings because they didn't want to spoil the surprise, but if you did test screenings with Blair Witch fans and just say, please don't tell anyone, well, I wouldn't have told anyone. And I'd given you some great pointers. I'd have given you some great pointers how to fix that film. But sadly, I wasn't invited. I was not invited. So, what are my final verdicts on this? So here's my take. Blair Witch in 2016 is a film with huge potential that shows up way too late. The last 30 minutes are terrifying, intense, creative, and honestly, some of the best horror that Wingard has ever directed. But the rest of the film, it just doesn't do the work. It doesn't honour the lore, it doesn't earn the scares, and it doesn't trust the audience. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5 stick figures. Press play if you're a completionist or want something spooky to watch with headphones, but if you're looking for something that understands what makes Blair Witch iconic, don't press play. Alright campers, that's it for today. Pack up your tents and get gone. We press play so you don't have to. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!
So,